you can get for $50 on AT&T. As you can likely already tell, this is not your normal handset. It has a 4-inch SVGA 800 by 600 display, which offers a 4:3 aspect ratio. In theory, this adds more horizontal space to your screen so you can view more content. Now it also, however, makes for a much more awkward feel in your hand, and we often felt the need to use both hands in most circumstances. As you can tell, the Pocket is made of material that looks and feels more rugged than your typical plastic. But is it? Well, according to Pantech, this material is a type of soft coat, non-crystalline thermoplastic that offers heat resistance, good transparency, and high impact strength. Or, in plain English, it's likely to withstand a little bit more abuse than your average plastic phone. On the back, you're going to find a textured finish along with a speaker grill and a 5 megapixel camera with no LED flash. On the top is the 3.5mm headphone jack and the power switch. On the right hand side you see the micro USB charging port. Nothing on the bottom. And on the left we have the volume rocker. Unfortunately, there's no hardware camera shutter button on the Pocket at all. Underneath the battery cover you're going to see the rear camera, a micro SIM card, which, by the way, is new to AT&T phones outside of the iPhone, and a 2GB micro SD card, which is expandable to 32 gigs. It also contains a decent 1650 mAh battery. Now, it's not the hugest battery that we've ever seen, but it seems to perform well enough to get 6 hours of straight video runtime, or just around a full day's worth of moderate use. While it's a 4-inch display, it's incredibly wide and awkward to hold up to your ear for long-term phone calls, or, ironically, put it into your pocket. While the screen size and form factor make it a little easier to consume information, much like you would expect on a mini tablet or a tablet, it causes the phone to feel a lot more massive than it actually is. And with the power switch on the left-hand side, if you're used to holding the phone in your left hand, attempting to lock or unlock the screen is a total nightmare. Conversely, however, those who hold the phone in their right hand will experience a much more natural feel. Going into the lock screen, Pantech was smart enough to add a lock screen with 5 direct access shortcuts to programs like your phone, messaging, internet, music player. It messed up, however, by not allowing you to customize which apps can be added to the lock screen, nor did it see fit to include quick access to the camera, which is a huge missed opportunity for Pantech. Speaking of the camera, it's not all that great. While it has a few basic features like macro focus, zoom, exposure, basic white balance, and filters, it's also missing an LED flash and several settings you would find commonplace on a Samsung or HTC, such as ISO, metering, anti-shake, panorama, and a lot of details turn out muddy or washed out in brighter lights. Low light images will occasionally turn out depending on how much backlight is available, but when they did, the results were not very impressive. We were able to take a few decent images with the Pocket camera, but it is not 100% reliable and certainly not anywhere close to what we'd expect from a 5 megapixel sensor. Video wasn't much better. It claims to shoot in 720p high def, but what we found instead were clips of incredibly choppy motion, and it actually performed on par, if not worse, than the Samsung Stratosphere's 480p camcorder. With such a large display, we found no concern with typing with 2 hands. Using one hand, however, felt almost too much like typing on a landscape keyboard, considering we had to stretch our thumb quite a bit to reach the other side of the screen. The Pocket offers a 1 GHz Qualcomm CPU with half a gig of RAM. While it would be completely fine for most first-time smartphone users or anyone seeking to do just basic tasks, it actually doesn't feel like it's running at a full gigahertz. More like 600 or 800 megahertz really. We experienced a significant amount of lag, whether it was from transitions, moving around apps, or even surfing the internet. While we saw some great browser benchmark scores, it was quite easy to notice lag in any of our activities in the browser. Even basic scrolling and pinch to zoom seemed to be affected. Finally, there's an average amount of bloatware pre-installed on the phone, and the Pocket's user interface has an option to uninstall apps directly from the app tray menu. The problem is, however, only a small number of the pre-installed apps can actually be removed, and there's no way to tuck the ones you don't use into folders. Overall, the Pantech Pocket is a rather tough sell. It's not trying to be the top performer, but it still lags behind much of its direct competition in performance. Also, we like the idea behind the unique display, but it's much harder to actually implement it on a phone without making an awkward or uncomfortable experience for the user. This is Brad with Engadget, and you can check out our full review at engadget.com.